Close your eyes for a moment and picture this. It's Friday night in Britain, somewhere in the heart of the 1960s. Cigarette smoke curls in the air like ghosts of conversation. The jukebox is humming a half-familiar tune. Pint glasses slam softly onto sticky wooden tables. And the bartender? He doesn't ask what you'd like. He already knows. So do you. Because some pints didn't need introductions. They were more than just drinks. They were symbols of regions, of rituals, of rebellion. And whether you adored them, tolerated them, or swore you'd never touch them again, they shaped a generation of nights out. So pour yourself a memory and settle in. These are 15 British pub pints from the 60s and 70s, lost to time, but never forgotten. Before we dive in, what was your first pint? Drop it in the comments and see how many others remember the same. Tetley's Bitter, Yorkshire's steady hand. You didn't order Tetley's. It was just there, like the jukebox, like the regulars, like the smell of hops and tobacco. Walk into any pub in Leeds, or most of Yorkshire really, and Tetley's was already waiting. Carved into the beer mats, etched on the windows, and poured religiously across the taps. By the 1970s, those iconic barrels were rolling out at nearly $1 million a year. Tetley's was earthy, nutty, and had a kick of bitterness that lingered like gossip in the air. Some locals called it Yorkshire's holy water. Others said it tasted like the carpet. But everyone drank it, because it belonged in the pub, just like you. Ask 10 blokes in Leeds about Tetley's, and you'll get 10 stories you didn't ask for, but won't want to stop listening to. Boddingtons Bitter, Manchester's creamy crown. In Manchester, you didn't drink bitter, you drank bodies. That creamy white head. That unmistakable dryness with a sharp finish. It was love or confusion at first sip. Brown gold if you were local. Just brown if you weren't. The cream of Manchester, the adverts eventually called it. But the pride came long before the slogans. It was a pint that made you feel local, even if you weren't. And that hypnotic, creamy froth? You'd catch yourself spinning the glass just to watch it settle. Boddingtons wasn't just beer. It was a badge. Ruddles County, the quiet revolution, Rutland, England's smallest county. But Ruddles? It punched like it was born in London and raised in Glasgow. In the late 70s, you either drank fizzy keg lagers like everyone else, or you planted your flag with Ruddles County. It was the beer of real ale warriors, fighting blandness one frothy pint at a time, strong, fruity, unapologetically bold. If you cradled a Ruddles, you weren't just drinking, you were protesting. And you're right, people noticed Camera, the campaign for real ale, practically adopted Ruddles as its poster child, lifting it high like a pint-sized declaration. We won't go quietly into the suds. Newcastle Brown Ale, the original icon. Ask someone from Newcastle what their identity is. Wait a second. If they're holding a dog, you already know. Nicknamed after an old excuse, going to see a man about a dog, this ale became synonymous with slow, strong, deliberate drinking. Malty, dark, and unapologetically heavy, Newcastle Brown Ale wasn't friendly. It was familiar, outsiders winced. Northerners nodded. You drank it if you had nowhere to be for a while. And if you walked into a bar in the Northeast and didn't see a table with at least one dog on it, you knew you were in the wrong place. Or worse, a southern chain. Double Diamond, the jingle that worked wonders. A pint with a theme song? Double Diamond pulled that off. Double Diamond works wonders. The jingle drilled itself into your head almost as fast as the beer went down. Smooth, golden, and unremarkably drinkable, it wasn't the taste that made it legendary. It was branding before branding was cool. It was the pint your old man drank after work in a pinstripe suit. Or maybe it was the only option in the pub near the station. Either way, when that jingle hit the telly, you knew exactly what it represented. Familiar, reliable, and probably better than whatever came after it. Whitbread Trophy Bitter, the quiet companion. They called it the pint that thinks it's a quart. Whitbread Trophy didn't shout. It softly sat in the middle of the table during darts. It waited patiently while your mate popped to the loo, and no one bragged about it, but everyone remembered it, especially when they stopped making it. Pubs across Britain had it on tap. It didn't floor you, didn't fizz or foam like a show-off, but in the golden glow of low pub lighting, Trophy was a friend. Worthington E, keg culture's first big shot. If you wanted a pint that tasted the same whether you were in London, Lincoln or Luton, Worthington E had your back. Cold, fizzy, predictable, and divisive. Some said it was progress. Others called it sacrilegious. But Worthington E was everywhere, behind almost every bar, atop every shiny chrome pump. Even the name felt futuristic, like something you drank on your lunch break at a space station. This was the future of beer, for better, or lukewarm worse. Still with us? If you're enjoying this walk down pint memory lane, give this video a like. It helps more people rediscover the pints of the past. And hey, who knows? Maybe one of your favorites will show up next. Now, let's keep pouring. John Smith's Bitter, the pint you could count on. Reliable, smooth, a little bit malty, a touch sweet. That was John Smith's. In Yorkshire, it was practically wallpaper. But by the 70s, John Smith's was spreading across Britain like someone had turned up the taps full blast. It was the pint your uncle swore by, the one that didn't try too hard. A beer for storytellers and steady drinkers. You never craved it, but somehow you never turned it down either. Courage Best Bitter, the South's silent workhorse, lighter than its northern cousins. Courage Best was brewed for the drinker who didn't want to be carried out after 3 rounds. The slogan, "Take Courage," wasn't just witty, it was warmly British. This pint was quiet, approachable, and unglamorous, but dependable. You'd find it lined up on Friday nights. No fuss, no fanfare. It was pub culture's sleeping backbone. And later, when Chaz and Dave made it sing, it became the pint with the cheekiest smile. Guinness Draught, the ritual in a glass strictly Irish. But in the 60s and 70s, Guinness had earned its place in British pubs. You didn't drink Guinness. You watched it, the iconic 2-part pour, the slow-settling cascade of black and cream. It wasn't just a pint, it was ceremony. You knew who was drinking Guinness because they were the ones still waiting while everyone else clinked glasses. But for those loyalists, worth every second, roasty, bitter, timeless. Watney's Red Barrel, the pint that broke Britain, cue the booze. Watney's Red Barrel walked so the craft beer revolution could run. One of the first keg beers, it was meant to be clean, modern, and mass-produced. And it delivered on most of that, except the flavor. Flat, fizzy, soulless. Red Barrel became the villain, but sometimes the bad guy becomes the star. Its infamy helped kick off camera in 1971, one of the biggest consumer movements in British history. Ironically, it helped save real ale by being so memorable. You didn't drink it twice because you liked it. You drank it twice because it was the only thing on tap. Skol Lager sounded foreign. Brewed in Burton, rebranded to sound like it belonged in a chic European cafe. Skol Lager was born in Britain's brewing heart, Burton-on-Trent, light. Pale and extremely easy to down, Skol exploded in popularity during the 60s. Why? Marketing genius. The name sounded foreign, the campaign screamed youth, and suddenly, Britain was drinking its first big continental lager. It wasn't deep. It wasn't rich, but it was fizzy and cheap, and for many, it was their gateway to Lagerland. Carling Black Label. Britain's biggest beer, you know the line. I bet he drinks Carling Black Label. Everyone did. By the 70s, Carling wasn't just a beer, it was a staple. Ubiquitous, smooth, inoffensive, the pint that never left your side, even if you didn't exactly remember why it was there to begin with. Some called it weak. Some called it classic. But one thing's for sure, it probably sponsored your first hangover. Courage Russian Stout, the winter warrior. This wasn't a pint. It was a sledgehammer in a tulip glass. Courage Russian Stout was brewed dark as midnight and strong enough for Siberia. With roots stretching back to the 18th century, it lingered by the 70s like a legend reborn. You didn't drink it casually. You drank it on Christmas Eve, or when you were trying to impress that one mate who claimed lager was just pub water. It was the rebel in a room full of lagers, and it didn't care if you liked it. Webster's Pennine Bitter, local pride poured, drives out the northern thirst. With that tagline, and Fred Truman behind the ads, Webster's became a symbol of northern pride. Not flashy, not national, but deeply loved. Yorkshire locals claimed it tasted better the closer you got to Halifax. And honestly, maybe they were right. It was their beer. The kind passed between mates on match day. The one your dad defended like a football club. The pint that didn't demand national loyalty, just local love. So, there you have it. 15 pints that once filled the bars, bellies, and banter of Britain. Some were iconic, some were controversial, and one or two probably lived on longer than they should have. But each one was a small story in a much bigger picture. Back when pubs weren't just where we drank, but where we belonged. Which of these classics do you miss the most? Or which one do you think deserved to disappear forever? Tell us down in the comments. We'd love to hear your stories, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a nostalgic sip of the past.